Hey folks, welcome to Lyman Outdoors, where we talk hunting, fishing, trapping, and anything else that keeps us wild out here. Now this is my first episode. I don't have a guest. I hope to have lots of guests. I'm your host, Lyman Miller. Before we get into today's topic of what the perspective of a resident of British Columbia who hunts, traps, and fishes, what would it look like if we became a 51st state? We're going to talk about that, but just before we get into it, I'll just let you know what I got going on. I'm currently trying to trap a coyote that killed my daughter's duck, her pet duck. So I've got a little video potentially coming out on that. I'm trying to do it in the least offensive way possible. We're doing some spring beaver for sure very shortly here. The weather's warmed right up. We're going to go on a cave tour. We might have a bit of a truck rescue to do soon. So I've got a few things. I'm just struggling with the technology part of it, but we'll get through it. We're going to dive into a scenario where what if we became a 51st state? And this is just going to be the perspective of a resident hunter, not a fishing guide, not a hunting guide, a resident hunter who loves the outdoors, loves to hunt, loves to fish, and loves to trap. So we're going to look at it from my perspective, and I'm still doing a lot of thinking about this, but I thought I would open I would appreciate your guys' comments on this too, especially from an American side. I hope to talk to a hunting guide and get him on here. If not, at least talk to him and put his perspective out there too. We'll see how that works. But let's get into it. So when we get into it, I'm just going to get into some stats about British Columbia. So BC has 5.7 million people. Of that 5.7 million people, 3 million live in the lower mainland, which is basically Vancouver, Chilliwack, Abbotsford, Langley, Surrey. It's just a big center. So that's 3 million people. Another 950,000 live either on Vancouver Island or on the Sunshine Coast. So all generally down, southern BC, right on the coast. So that leaves 1.75 million people, residents. That 1.75 million live in an area that is 908,435 square kilometers, or 350,790 square miles. The lower mainland, where most of the folks in BC live, takes up 4% of the total land mass. They take up 36,300 square kilometers, or 14,000 square miles. Because the total land in BC is 944,735 square miles, or 364,000 square miles. It's huge. BC's bigger than most states. It's bigger than lots of states combined. It's a huge territory. There's not that many people. Once you get out of the lower mainland, we are pretty spoiled in terms of having vast areas of land to. With that in mind, let's talk about lifestyles. So 95% of BC is public land. So all of that land I just talked about in those stats is public, which means there's no corner crossings, there's nothing. If you're a resident here, you can just go out and use it. I mean, the landscape here, we have it all. It's arguably it's a outdoorsman or woman's dream to live here. If you're into exploring or hunting, fishing, trapping, anything outdoors, we have a huge area from the coast and our fishing down there to the rivers and lakes and streams, and our hunting in the mountains all the way to the coast, and there's farmland in between, and it's just a great spot. I mean, me right here, I'm within 10 minutes of hunting if I want to. I'm within 2 hours of goat, 3-4 hours from sheep. Elk are right here, moose here, deer here, bear here, coyotes, wolves, lynx. I mean, you name it. There's all kinds of great things to hunt. And so another interesting thing about us here in BC is that there was 107,000 hunting licenses sold, 275,000 saltwater licenses, 260,000 freshwater licenses, and there's about 3,500 trappers. Keep in mind, a lot of these numbers overlap. For example, I fish freshwater and saltwater, so I have to buy 2 licenses. And I also hunt, so I think those numbers, if they're saying there's 100,000 hunters, I almost guarantee you those hunters buy fishing licenses. So there's not that many people. Once you get out, again, of the Lower Mainland, and if you enjoy being alone, you can sure find a lot of spots where nobody's going to bug you here. I mean, we've gone many trips, traveling long distances, say 100 miles by boat, and you don't see one person for a week, and that's exactly how we like it here and enjoy that freedom of getting away from everyone. In order for us to go, say I want to go, we'll just touch base on the licenses. So you need a fishing license if you go do that, freshwater, saltwater, depending what it is. Hunting license, trapping license. If you use a boat, you need a boating license. And if you hunt migratory game birds, you need a migratory game bird license. You need a gun license, and then you can buy tags. Say you want to shoot a moose, you buy a hunting license and you buy a tag. It's funny that you have to buy all these licenses. And then if you can put in for limited entry draws too, you can buy that. But it's not really that difficult. It's not a tough process. Lots of it's moving online now. I think it is what it is. You pay to use the outdoors, and if you want to go hunting, and hopefully people say, well, if we become the 51st state, there'll be a whole bunch of Americans flooding in here to go hunting. But you got to think of it from the other end too, is it would open up the borders for us to go south or north to Alaska to do the same thing. So I don't really see a real negative there. I think it would help bring money. And again, I'm speaking from a resident hunter perspective, not a hunting guide. And like I said, I'm going to try to get a BC hunting guide's perspective on it as well. But I like the idea of having no custom. I think you could see a little, talking about the border, a little bit of an economy boost here, and I'm not sure how that looks for guides and fishing guides, hunting guides, but I think we would see a boost to businesses in BC. I should mention trapping. Trapping's broke up. It's regulated by the provincial government, so each trapper is allocated a section of public land, and we rely on that public land to trap, and we just need to buy a trapping license. They're good for 5 years and follow the regs. And it's pretty easy to get trapping here. So some of the things that as a resident of Canada in BC is we're under constant attack to take our guns away. It's relenting bombardment of politicians vowing for votes that it's very difficult battle that we fight here in order to keep our rights and freedoms. I mean, this country, from my perspective, is way less free than America, especially the last 5 years. It's been, they've been stripping them away from us. And in terms of the outdoors, they're coming after our guns pretty hard all the time. And they're coming after certain things. For example, in 2017, they banned the grizzly bear hunt in BC, which was based on zero science whatsoever. It was based on politicians trying to get voted in. And here we have a vast majority of our population in the Lower Mainland who don't hunt. They sit in downtown Vancouver and drink coffee and read magazines about how bad bear hunting is. And that is backfiring in the fact that up north, we have, I know in my area, we have a real bad grizzly problem, and guys up north. So they've taken a lot of money out too, because we used to have paying clients from other countries come up here and pay, $25,000 US to hunt the grizzly, and now the conservation officers are having to shoot them at a cost to the taxpayers. So it's absolutely ridiculous that politicians get to dictate wildlife management here, in my opinion, and I think there's some good people in the background always battling that battle for us. So I don't like that here in Canada at all. Another thing here, we get severely taxed to death. So I think I seen a stat the other day. So if you made $109,000 with your family, right away $46,000 goes to the government, like before you even take it home. And I got some other stats here. So our tax system in Canada is broken. People are struggling. It's brutal. So check from working guy or girl, 39 to 43 right off the top. Then we have property tax, provincial income tax, excess tax, alcohol, like that's a tax on alcohol and tobacco. So for an example, it's like $20 to buy a pack of cigarettes, and whether you smoke or not, that's ridiculous. So it's opened up a big market for black market smokes here that you can buy for, $3 or $4 a pack if you're a smoker. And it's getting brutal. And I think, some of the other luxury tax, media tax, regulation tax, air travel tax, and then carbon tax. So it's interesting that people are screaming and yelling at Trump for putting tariffs on, the American citizens for buying Canadian products, and we're like, our government taxes way more. But that's another story. I think there's a lot of people that are, honestly struggling because it's so expensive and we get taxed to death here. So I think a lot of people can't afford to go into the backcountry and to the woods to go on a fishing trip, to take their family, on a deer hunting fall trip. It's really squeezed a lot of people. So I think in terms of taxes, the Americans have got to figure it out. I think we would immediately get big tax breaks. I think we would also get some gun rights here and some more freedoms. Now, is it worth it? I don't know, but I know that I don't like politicians in Vancouver, where my vote doesn't matter at all, dictating what I can and can't hunt based on zero science. I don't like getting taxed to death. That's a tough one. So again, I'd like to hear from you, especially. I don't know the answer, but it's just my perspective on becoming the 51st state or staying Canadian. I just hope what's best for the outdoors, and my lifestyle is I like the outdoors. I want to protect them. I want to be able to use them. I want other people to be able to use them. So I think I would value that over anything else. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. We'll catch you next week.